right, we are back and this has fully and completely dried. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix together some metallic gold, just a little bit. Got about that much in my container. I'm going to take some of that Prussian blue that we used, add just a little of that. I'm going to take some of my satin glaze, and this is an acrylic satin glaze medium. I'm putting this all together in a container, and that's about the ratio. So I'd say it's about half and half gold and blue, and a couple good-sized tablespoons of the glaze. I'm going to add some water to that medium to break it down a little bit. I'm going to mist my painting, and the reason I'm going to mist it is because I know it's good and dry. It's dry for at least 48 hours. You don't want to mist a painting any sooner than that. Even 24 hours, you could get water spots. So make sure your painting is good and dry a few days actually before you mist it. If you don't want to mist it, you can just put a little water on your brush and go over it quickly. Very little bit of water just to move the paint around that we're going to apply, and that's perfectly fine to do versus misting. Misting your canvas is very quick and easy, and I do like it for laying down a very light coat of hydration before I add my paints. But again, be very careful before you mist, and make sure your paints are very, very dry. At least 48 hours, if not longer. Sometimes if you have a painting and you haven't worked on it in 2 or 3 weeks, perfectly fine to come back and mist it. If it's been 24 hours or even that same day, do not do that. All right, so I'm going to take some of that mixture. I've mixed it up very loosely. I'm going to go around some of these areas that we did not cover, that have the white. I'm going to move it just a little bit over that. You're going to get some striations of the gold coming through with the blue. And I'm going to take a damp paper towel now, and I'm going to kind of blend some of that off the canvas because I really don't want that full intensity of color. You're going to get a lot of translucency by kind of doing this and working with the glazes. Alright, so I've taken some of that off now, and what I want to do is I'm going to add a little gold just in a couple of these spots. I take the brush that I had. I'm not adding any paint, actually I'm trying to take some off here. I'm going to go over that again. And really what I'm doing is I'm just adding layers of color, and those bottom layers and the movement, the brush strokes, will show through. Like I'm doing over here, I'm bringing it all the way down, and then I'm moving it side to side. Same thing here. Bring a little here and moving it side to side. Now, by doing this, instead of getting that full bling of the gold, we're going to get that shimmer of the gold coming through, but again, without the full metallic of the gold. Metallics are great to work with for that because they will add a certain level of shimmer and luminosity to your painting, even if you're not really a metallic person. If you really don't want the metallics, or you don't want the full sort of bling pop of the metallics, They add not only color, but they add a pretty shimmer. Now I'm taking a little more of my first glaze, the deeper blue. I'm going over those lightly. And again, just work this very lightly so you have those layers coming through, because there's no point in putting all the layers down if you're just going to cover them with subsequent layers when you're going over it. So you want to lay your paints down judiciously. Just be very, very light-handed and going over this. And as you can see, there's a lot of layers and colors coming through the bottom here. And as we do lay them down, you're going to get, you know, a lot of different light and darkness and layers and translucencies or transparencies based on the fact that we did not cover everything with paint in one fell swoop on the first go around. We left some light areas, and we are removing, adding paint, working with metallics, and working with our glazes. And glazes are always going to allow you to lay down multiple layers and have the paints and the colors show through from underneath, which is really why I do like to work with those. So I'm just going to go around and work my painting. Yours is going to be similar. It's going to be different. It's an original work of art. It should not look exactly like mine. It should just be similar to this painting because you're creating your own artwork. So sometimes I get students that are worried that their painting isn't identical, or, you know, they've missed a little point of shadow here or there or something. And that really doesn't matter as long as you're understanding the techniques and the steps that we're taking to get those. And again, if you have questions, just an email away. I'm happy to answer questions, because I do know sometimes when you're doing this, it looks easy, and then you start to do it, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a little trouble zone, and you don't know how to get out of it, or you are wondering what to do next, or maybe how to fix something. So I'm just working my painting, the areas. I'm taking a little of my paper towel and just adding and subtracting where I just want a little bit more. Now, when you work with glazes and metallics, you have to fairly work quickly. They're not particularly forgiving as far as that goes, because they can start to lift, and when they do and they start getting tacky and dry, they start to lift, and sometimes that can give you some very cool effects if you know how to work that. But at first, if you're not particularly sure, that can be a little bit scary. So as you can see, I've got a lot of different variations of tone, shades, colors coming through on my background here. So that's essentially what we want in this layer. You want to have a lot of depth, but you want to have certain areas of light, certain areas of dark. So we're going to let this dry really well, and this is going to dry minimum 24 hours, if not 48 hours, really for best results. And I know that's sometimes hard to wait, but trust me, if you really let it dry, you're going to be so much happier in the end. All right, so we're going to let that dry. We'll come back and we'll start applying even more.